The gun was trembling. Not from fear, but from fury. Officer Bill Kovich's hand shook slightly as he pressed the cold barrel of his Glock 19 into the temple of a firefighter. Towering, sweat slicked, eyes locked on something behind him. Fire engine 12, that its siren screamed. Red lights cut through the heavy gray of the afternoon haze. But nobody moved. Not the firefighters. Not the bystanders. Not the man at gunpoint. And certainly not the cop at the God complex. Who the hell do you think you are? Kovich hissed. You think you can just run out here and knock me down like I'm nothing? The firefighter, still catching his breath, didn't respond. But he didn't need to. His body language, tense, ready to spring, coiled with urgency, spoke volumes. His name was Lieutenant Marcus Washington, a 28-year veteran of Oak Haven Fire Station 12. In this moment, this confrontation was the last thing standing between him and a house burning with people inside. But to understand this clash, this moment crackling with injustice and insanity, we have to rewind just a few hours earlier that day. The sun crawled slowly over Oak Haven, painting the worn brick buildings and rusting overpasses in pale gold. On Elm Street, Marcus Washington sat at his kitchen table in his usual chair, sipping black coffee from his chip station mug. Across from him, Sarah, his wife of 30 years, was humming softly as she scrambled eggs. The quiet between them wasn't awkward. It was the kind born from years of peace, routine, and knowing each other without needing to speak. The phone rang. Marcus smiled as he picked it up. "Hey, baby," came the voice of his daughter, Maya, second-year med student 3 hours away. They talked about school, her lack of sleep, and how much she missed her mom's fried chicken. Marcus's smile lingered long after the call ended. Calls like that reminded him why he ran into burning buildings for a living. By 7:45 a.m., he was pulling into the lot of Fire Station 12. The old building groaned under its own history. Inside, the air smelled of diesel, sweat, and burnt toast. Firefighters were sipping coffee, cracking jokes, but when Marcus entered, the tone shifted. "Morning, Cap," came the chorus. "You hear the Tigers blew in the ninth?" Marcus didn't bite. He headed straight for the gear room, checking oxygen tanks, nozzles, turnout coats, every single thing. Not because he didn't trust his team, but because he refused to gamble with lives. A rookie, Jackson, looked on as Marcus rechecked the pressure gauge he had already cleared. "Didn't I check that?" Jackson asked. Marcus didn't look up. "You did. And I'm checking it again. Because when you can't see your own hand through the smoke, you'll be grateful I did." Across town, Officer Bill Kovich sat at his kitchen table in silence. His wife, Emily, looked tired, pale, angry. "You slammed his head on a hood, Bill. Over a busted taillight." He disobeyed. Simple as that. Emily's eyes glistened. "That's not policing. That's violence." Kovich stood up sharply. "That's survival. You think I can be soft out there?" He pointed toward the window, toward the city. "Out there, they only understand one thing. Authority." Emily didn't answer. She just looked away. Kovich stormed out, uniform tight, ego tighter. In his patrol car, he felt like himself again. Superior. Watching. Judging. His radio crackled with minor infractions, suspicious vehicles, reports of kids loitering. He didn't hear crime. He heard opportunity. He saw threat in every face that didn't look like his. And he didn't care who noticed. Point 2:17 p.m., Station 12. The alarm pierced the air like a blade. Engine 12, Ladder 4, Battalion Chief 3, Residential Structure Fire. East End. Possible entrapment. The station exploded into motion. Firefighters scrambled into gear with military precision. Marcus barked orders while pulling on his coat. "Jackson. Breakers. Miller. Ladders. Let's go." Marcus took the side door, the fastest route to the truck. He'd used it 100 times. 2:19 p.m., outside Station 12. Kovich was walking the sidewalk nearby, fresh from a scolding by a sergeant. Another complaint, they'd said. "Tone it down." Kovich seethed. Tone it down? They didn't understand. He wasn't a thug. He was a protector. He didn't see Marcus barreling through the metal door until it was too late. Impact. Kovich stumbled backward, hitting the pavement with a grunt. His baton clattered onto the concrete. Marcus didn't stop. "Sorry, officer." "Emergency," people trapped, but Kovich's humiliation overrode logic. "You just assaulted a police officer," he screamed, pulling his weapon. Marcus froze. "Don't do this," he said. "I have to go." Gun drawn, barrel aimed. "You're not going anywhere," Kovich snarled. And in that frozen moment, guns shaking, lives burning, every second ticked toward tragedy. Marcus took a breath, slow and sharp, like pulling air through a cracked rib. The moment the gun left his temple, he moved with the precision of a man who'd faced death in fire and refused to blink. No hesitation, no fury, just purpose. "Jackson, get in the truck. Go," he barked, voice a thunderclap that jolted his stunned crew into motion. The engine roared to life. Tires screeched. Lights flashed. As the truck pulled away, Marcus snatched the radio mic and growled, "Engine 12 en route, priority response, confirmed entrapment." His tone left no room for doubt. Officer Bill Kovich stood frozen, blinking like a man waking up from a nightmare. Only it wasn't a dream. The address still echoed in his ears. 1428 Chandler Avenue. His address. His home. His wife, that he didn't scream until the red lights vanished down the street. Then came a hoarse, animal cry. "Emily!" His fingers trembled as he fumbled for his phone. One ring. Two. Three. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. His gut twisted with dread. His mind conjured every image he never wanted to see. Emily coughing, trapped, calling his name. The irony was suffocating. He had held the man who might have saved her at gunpoint. No more hesitation. Kovich lunged for his squad car, sirens wailing as he sped through red lights he once enforced, weaving through traffic like a madman. His mind screamed, "Get there! Faster! Faster!" Up ahead, a dark plume clawed the sky. He turned onto Chandler Avenue and stopped breathing. His house was no longer a house. It was a funeral pyre. Flames punched through the roof. Smoke poured from shattered windows. The heat distorted the air like a mirage from hell. And in the middle of the chaos stood Marcus. The firefighter's face was blackened with soot, his voice cutting through the roar of flames as he directed his crew. He pointed to the second floor, their bedroom. Kovich followed the line of his finger. The window was open, but the smoke was too thick. No sign of Emily. Kovich leapt from his cruiser, charging past stunned neighbors. "Emily, my wife's inside," he yelled, trying to run toward the inferno. A fellow officer blocked him. "You can't go in there. Let them work. She's in there. He fought like a wild animal, but the officer held him back from the fire engine. Marcus turned. For a second, their eyes met. No words were exchanged, but everything was understood. Marcus disappeared into the smoke. Kovich stood, helpless, paralyzed, as the minutes ticked by like countdowns to doom. Every second now was a verdict. Every breath not taken was his fault. He remembered the walkie static, the way Marcus had begged to go, the way he'd smiled, smug, gun raised, like a god deciding fate. Now that same fate clawed at his throat. 10 minutes passed. Then 12. Finally, the flames began to retreat under the pressure of the hoses. The sound of burning turned to crackles and collapse. And in that silence, horror came. 2 paramedics emerged from the house. Between them, a stretcher on it, a black body, B.A.G. N.O. zipper needed to be pulled. Kovich's soul zipped itself shut. The howl that tore from him was not human. He dropped to his knees, face buried in trembling hands. That a voice stood behind him. Calm, cold, professional, officer. Kovich didn't look up. He knew it was a fire chief. "My name is Battalion Chief Miller." According to Lieutenant Washington's report, Engine 12 was delayed 4 minutes and 37 seconds because of a police officer detaining their captain. In this kind of structure fire, that time is critical. Once a fire breaches the lower level, it takes less than 5 minutes for the upper floor to become unsurvivable. That delay— "Stop," Kovich whispered, shaking his head. "That delay," Miller continued, "is the difference between a rescue and a recovery. Each syllable hit like a sledgehammer. Rescue. Recovery." Marcus emerged again, coughing, dragging his helmet off, eyes hollow. He didn't look at Kovich. Didn't need to. He'd done his job. That was his justice. Kovach stared at the smoldering wreck of his house, once full of warmth, now ash. His hand moved slowly to his chest. Not for his badge, not for his gun, just his heart. It beat. Hers didn't, and he had made that choice. Not the fire, not the delay him,